everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jennifer and I'm a lover of all things luxury, beauty, fashion, it runs the gamut. And I was a Chanel makeup artist way back in the day. Today we're going to be taking a look at 3 green eyeshadow palettes. One I've already done a video on and talked about. This is the Tom Ford Velours Kaki. I know many of you have been stalking this palette and with good reason. It's my favorite. We're going to talk about it right now. We're just going to get out in the open. Spoiler alert, it's my favorite. Absolutely stunning, amazing formula, very, very pricey. Let's just be honest. The second one is the Dior Backstage. This is the Khaki Neutrals. This has just come out. It's a 9-pan palette. And I don't usually like the Backstage as much as I like the what we call the traditional quints, the 5 pans, but we're gonna swatch this one today and see. Still not inexpensive. I mean, you know, it's up there. I'll give all the prices down below for each one of these. And then last but not least, the Bobbi Brown. This is the Jadestone palette. I do like Bobbi Brown shadows in general. They're not my favorites, but I think they're pretty decent. And this one I actually was able to get on sale, but I think its actual price is $59. The only one I can't remember off the top of my head is the Dior Khaki, because I bought it in combination with a bunch of other things. But I'll make sure all the information is down below. So we'll talk about, you know, the price point, how many shadows, formula, all that good stuff. Like I said, I did do a video on the Tom Ford, but let me just say a couple of things. 4 shades. They are creme formula, creamy, very, very smooth, great on a mature eye. I've had Tom Ford formulas like this one, I don't know if it's the same, like the Coco Mirage, which literally I've had for years and they've kept fine. I can't say to these, quote, new formulas how long they'll last. I can just say that I've had some for several months now. I haven't noticed any change. So they seem to be relatively long lasting. $90, like I said, and it's kind of spotty right now where they're available, but I'll make sure there's links below. The pros for that one, the shades are gorgeous. They really are. And they go on beautifully, smoothly, and easy to use. The cons, they're expensive and kind of hard to find. The Dior Backstage, we'll get into it. Again, not cheap, not inexpensive. The Dior Backstage, I have one other Dior Backstage. The powders have lasted a really long time. I haven't noticed any problems with that. They are available on Dior. I think they're available also on Selfridges if you have, not Selfridges, Sephora. If you had a friends and family code, you could get 20% off. So that's good. In here is an eye primer and a top coat, which is like this pearly white. Well, I'll swatch it, but I just want to get this, like the overview in the beginning. The top coat is pearly white. Those are things that don't exist in any of the other palettes. There's not a specific primer for your eyes and not a top coat. So, you know, that's an interesting use of the palette. The 9-pan has satins, glitters, metals, satin, glitters, and metals. I do not see, no, there's no matte in the Backstage. There are satins, but there's no matte. So if you really like a matte, you might not love that. And again, I'll put the price down below when we're going through it. Bobbi Brown Jadestone. It is a 12-pan palette, so you're gonna have more shades than all the others. $59, so it's certainly cheaper for the amount that you're getting, you know, because you're getting 12 shades. I'm trying to think the other Bobbi Brown palettes I've had, I haven't had any problems with them going bad or any type of issues like that. You know, they last as long as any other powder shadows would. Looks like there's metallic. I was looking to see if they say what types of shades are in here. There's mattes, there's metallics, and the shades are on the side, which are really hard to read. Matte eyeshadow in blonde, Empire City, buff, cream, rich caramel, and black chocolate. So there's a lot of mattes. Metallic eyeshadows in Highline Shine, Jadestone, Champagne Quartz, Bronze Forest, Magic, and Electric City. So they have mattes and metallics. That's interesting. Okay, so they have mattes and metallics. The Dior Backstage has satin, glitters, and metals, and a primer and a top coat. And the Tom Ford is all creme. One of them is more shimmery, and the others are satins. And I'd say overall you get a very satiny, voluptuous look with the cremes. It's a really beautiful quad. On my lips today, I have the lip glow in Mahogany. I want to mention in my other video, I think it was in the Dior holiday video, and I have a part 2 coming up. I mentioned that these lip glows don't really have like a color to them. I should have made an exception, and someone reminded me of it in my comments, so thank you. I forgot who reminded me, but thank you very much. Except for Mahogany. Mahogany, and there's also a Dior 8 that was like a limited edition. I don't know if it's still out there. That shade does impart a color. The 8 is like a brick red, and the Mahogany looks like a deeper nude on most people. Nude is the issue when I say nude, because nude means different things to different people, obviously, and different skin tones. On me, it still goes pink. Everything goes pink on me. Even shades that will go browner on someone else go pink on me. So something like this, like the lip glow, the only one that doesn't go pink is the Dior 8. That goes like a brick red. This is the Mahogany on me. And you can see it's still pink. It's not a bright poppy pink like the others. It has more a neutrality to it, but it's still pink. Because for whatever reason, whatever chemistry, whatever's, you know, my lips, it goes pink. Pretty much everything. Okay, so what we're gonna do today is we're gonna swatch the Tom Ford, the Bobbi Brown, and the Backstage. And after doing that, we're gonna do a very simple eye look because I want to really concentrate on the different pros and cons of these different greens. Why am I doing greens? Because everybody's asked me. Everyone has asked me about the greens. Which one should you buy? Is the Tom Ford really worth it? You know, is the Bobbi Brown just as good? So we're going to answer those questions today. I could have said these are my guesses, like this is what I think my answers would be, but I didn't want to do that. I feel like we can get evidence-based decisions here and talk about it. So like I said, the eye look will be pretty basic. I will not use the Tom Ford because you've seen that in action. So I'll use something, maybe both the Dior and the Bobbi Brown. We'll have to figure it out. So that's the Tom Ford. As I said, I've talked about it before. Super creamy. This is the only one that has kind of like a satiny look to it. A little bit of shimmer. This is a satin. These are matte. So it gives you a really good grounding in an eye look. When I say grounding, when you create an eye look, if you're looking for something that's not just one shade, you kind of want depth. You want something that isn't just all one. So a matte can sort of ground a look. You put a shimmer over it. You still get that depth of color, but you get the shimmer on top. Mattes are also great if you feel like you have a lot of texture on your eye and you don't want something that's going to draw attention to that. Not all shimmers draw attention to texture, but many do. So here's the Dior Backstage. And like I said, I think this is a really pretty color story. I think it's going to be very popular. These are my guesses. I don't think it's going to be as good as the Tom Ford. I could be totally wrong. We're about to find out. But that's the thing. Like, that's my assumption. Not necessarily the case. Dior to the test. Now, I'm not going to swatch the primer or the top coat. I'm going to swatch the other 7 shades first. Okay. Yeah, this is a satin. There are shades. I'll talk about what the shade names are after I put them on my arm. They're swatching well. They feel creamy. They don't feel nearly as creamy as the Tom Ford guys. I'm sorry. But they do feel nice. The Tom Ford formula is some kind of magic. Like it's why I fell in love with Tom Ford in the first place. It was because I had things like Coco Mirage that I was using and they were just, you know, stunningly beautiful and worked perfectly. Now, at the time I was a lot younger, so I didn't have texture or any other skin problems, frankly, at the time. But, you know, I still loved Tom Ford. I do to this day. It's just, stuff's a little bit more hit or miss now, unfortunately. But hey, that's okay. Ooh, that's a very deep green. This is a very deep forest green. These are Tom Fords. They don't have names. The shades don't have names. So the first color would be this one right here. And then we're gonna go down the line. So we have golden tan, that's a satin. Warm gold, which is a satin. Pure gold, which is a glitter. Emerald, which is a metal. Khaki, which is a glitter. Warm brown, which is a satin. And pine green, which is a glitter, according to this. I don't see that as a glitter. I think that's been mislabeled because that looks like a matte. And maybe it was supposed to be a glitter and it's not one, but that does not look like glitter to me, guys. That looks like a matte. We'll have to find out. Maybe it's been mislabeled, because that does not look like a glitter. That looks like a matte to me. That's a satin, I agree. This is supposed to be a glitter. I'm not so sure about that. That's a metal. Okay, I can see that. This is a glitter. I can see that. That's pure gold, sure. This is a satin, okay, and this is a satin. I agree with most of them, but this one, it's a matte, guys. I mean, they might have wanted it to be a glitter, but that's not a glitter. That's matte. That's interesting. Okay, well, I don't know what it was meant to be, but that's what it is. So you can see the shades are very different. This is the only shades that are similar, I'd say, are these two shades. And a little bit of this one has the similar like shade, but the formula is very different. These shades, the olivey shades, are very similar, but the brighter, like this is like a hunter green and this more emerald green, they're very different. These shades, this is much golder. This, you know, it's just it's a glitter gold, so yeah, very different green color story. I did the Michaela color, the Michaela collection, and she has a lot of greens in there. They're bright greens. Kind of like the shirt I'm wearing today. It was like a very bright green. The ones that I tend to be more attracted to are really not bright greens. They're more, I'd say, warmer greens, maybe more user-friendly greens, depending on how you want to look at it. All right, so we're going to go up this way for the Bobbi Brown. Now let's see if there's, yes, on the back. Matte, metallic, matte, metallic, matte, metallic, metallic. Okay, so basically they've tried to have a matte for each. Okay, that's good. All right, so I'll go through the names after we swatch them. Let's see what we think of the formula. All right, here we go. It's more powdery than either the Dior or the Tom Ford, at least from what I'm feeling. Putting it on my finger, that's not necessarily bad. Ooh, the metallic is very smooth though. That went on nicely. And also remember, it's not just how they like swatch. Sometimes something cannot swatch particularly well, but it looks great on the eye, and vice versa. Yeah, these are actually, they feel very nice. This is more like that hunter green in the Dior, but it has a little bit more, this one has a little bit more like metallic to it, although the one in Dior says glitter, so it wouldn't shock me if it's mislabeled. That's all I'll say about that. Yeah, the glitters in here, or the metallics in here are very nice. So there, a very colorful arm, there is the Bobbi Brown. I'll do it like this so you guys can see it and I'll get my face out of the way. I'm gonna start from this shade right here, this way. I'll explain why in a minute. I ran a little out of space. So the first shade is Blonde, it's a matte. Highline Shine, which is a metallic. Empire City, which is a matte. Jadestone, which is a metallic. That's that green that I was talking about. It's actually really pretty. Buff, which is right there, which is exactly what it sounds like. Matte. Champagne Quartz, which is a metallic. Then we have Bronze Forest, which is a metallic. We have Cream, which is a matte. We have Magic, which is a metallic. We have Electric City, which is a metallic, which is this one right here, that gold shade. Then we have Rich Caramel, which is a matte, which is the one on the end. And then we have Black Chocolate, which is the one over here. I ran out of room on my arm because I don't have long arms. So what I would say is, you know, it looks to me more like the Dior palette. In fact, it looks very similar to the Dior palette, but has a lot more options because you've got 12 shadows. You've got these great kind of neutral, coolish leaning shades, and this caramel, which is a little warmer, so you could do different looks with it. Whereas the Dior, it's not as versatile. I mean, I think you could do different things, but you don't, the only matte I can find is this one. This kind of looks like a matte to me as well, but they don't describe it as such. Of course, I'm a little concerned about how they're describing things. But anyway, you have a lot more options in this. You have, how many mattes? We said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we have 6 mattes and 6 metallics. Yeah. So you've got, you know, an easy way to do like duos. So you could do a matte and a metallic, you know, make it very, very easy to do. You just have one matte and one metallic. You could pair these up really well, or there's a ton of different looks you can do with that. You can even take out the greens if you want to. I don't know why you'd want to, but you know, I could see if you were not looking for a green look, you could certainly do that. So I'd say the way they swatch really well. I don't think that these are a substandard to the Dior. They're not as smooth as the Tom Ford. They're not as creamy as the Tom Ford, but I didn't expect that. So let's do this. Let's try to match some shades. So let's say I took, trying to see which shades I could do. Let's take, so this one has, the Dior has like an olive and kind of a emerald green, which I think would be this one. And then I could take like a similar kind of shade here, although these are gonna be more metallic. Let me try to come up with a similar look. It won't be exactly the same, but it'll be similar. So you can see the difference between the Dior and the Bobbi Brown. I'd say just looking at this, that the Tom Ford is kind of in a class by itself, but it's also a very expensive, quad, and you only get 4 shades. So if you're looking for something that has more versatility, I understand that. Like, I understand you don't want necessarily just 4 shades. Let's take, they're saying that's a warm brown. Let's use the primer. Let's use the primer from Dior. I should have swatched that for you guys. I put that on the back of my hand. I am very careful about my primers because my eyes are very dry and sensitive. So I don't just generally use like a different, I'm very careful about that. The only one I like, honestly, is the Gerard Cosmetics one, and there's a Tom Ford one that I like, but that's it. So there's the primer. You can't see it. It's non-existent, which is good. And there's the topper. The topper is kind of special, like in the sense that none of these palettes will have that, like that sparkly topper. It is pretty. It reminds me of the shade that's in the Tom Ford Après-Ski. All right, so I'm not going to use the primer today because I think it might like mess up what we're trying to do. Because you'll get a different look with a primer generally, even if it's not a great primer. It should do something. Let's take the Dior on this side. This is the shade Warm Brown. It's a satin, supposedly, and I don't mean to be like flippant about it, but the reason I am being a little flippant is because it's pretty obvious to me that that last shade, that very deep green shade, is not a glitter. It's just not. Like, you could maybe, like, there's a couple of shades where I'm like, well, I guess that could be a satin, you know, could be a matte depending, but that's not a glitter. It's just, no. So, something's wrong with the labeling. Don't know what. Okay. You know, somebody asked me about this brush and I didn't get back to them, which is terrible, and I realize it now. And if I can find your comment, I will get back to you, but it's a G5524. It's a Hakuhodo brush. It's a very thick, like, it almost looks like a pencil. And I love it for like a simple eye look when you're just trying to put something on the outer edge and like into the crease. It makes like the perfect, like, stubby pencil look. So that's the best way I can describe it. There is a Hakuhodo USA that you can get these on, Feud Beauty, Feud Japan, and this one, I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly where I bought this one, but it is the Hakuhodo G5524. Okay, so we've got the warm brown in the crease here, and I will the same with this one. There's one, it's a called Empire City, which is a matte. It looks to be like a similar kind of brown. Not the same, obviously, but we're just trying to do some comparisons here for all of you that are trying to buy a green-ish palette. Hopefully this will be helpful for you to decide, you know, which one you want. I'm taking out the Tom Ford. I mean, I swatched it for you all, but I really don't think that it's fair to, first of all, the Tom Ford's $90, so it's much more expensive. But I also just think it is kind of it's in a class of its own, that and the violet sateen, They are just different. They are beautiful, and they are the formula that's in there. Frankly, if everything Tom Ford came out with had that formula, I would only buy Tom Ford. But that's not what happens. Okay, so we have the browns. Both went on really well. To be honest, the Bobbi Brown was a little bit more pigmented than the Dior. It's a little creamier. The Dior is a little more powdery. That doesn't mean anything like bad or good. It's just interesting to note. The Dior actually had a little bit more kick up. So we're gonna take the khaki shade in the Dior, and I'll make sure this is described. I think it's described as satin, but we will check and make absolutely sure. It's called a glitter. Okay. It doesn't look glittery, guys, at all. So if you're worried about it being glittery, it's not glittery. It looks like a satin. It's a really pretty satin, but there is no glitter. I think you can see that. There's no glitter. I don't know if my Charlotte Tilbury Pops video is up yet. I'm not sure which one's going up in which sequence, but that is glittery. Like, not glittery like we're thinking of like high school glitter with particles, but you know, super shimmery glittery kind of thing. Like, you get the difference. All right, so let's try to find something that's similar khaki in this. I think it's gonna be Electric City. I think that's probably the closest. Well, maybe Magic Metal. Maybe Magic Metal, because it's a little bit deeper, and this one's a little bit deeper. Yeah, okay, it's closer. Now, this one definitely looks metallic, and that's how it is described. It's described as a metallic, and it looks that way. It's like it's a metallic satin, really beautiful formula, blending really well. What I'm doing is I'm going in with a Hakuhodo Kolinsky brush, because it really brings out pigment, so you can see the pigments. But then I'm just softening it up with one of the Surratt brushes, because I don't want to overdo it, because I'm going to put on another shade, and I just want to keep it somewhat light. So you can already see there's difference in shades, obviously. They're not the same palette, but a similar kind of eye look. And if I had to pick between the two at the moment, I'd pick the Bobbi Brown. Just so you know. All right, so we're gonna take the shade that I said that was like a little bit more, it was Highline Shine. It's this shade here. And I'm gonna use that as like a topper on this. Yeah, I think that will work. Okay, so we've got that as like the topper. We're gonna use the actual topper in the Dior on top, which is gonna give you a different look, because this has like a white, glittery kind of pigment, but it'll get you like a similar look between the two. Now I'm going to line my eyes. I will use that glitter shade, the deep emerald glitter shade in the Dior. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful shade. I love forest green. Like, really, it's like one of my favorite shades. But it's not glitter. So one or two things happened. One, they mislabeled the palette, or two, this was supposed to be a glitter shade and it's not. I'm not sure which one's worse, but according to the Backstage palette, the back of it says, kit contains an eye primer, which I showed you, the ultra metallic top coat, which I have on the top, which is a pearly white, totally agree. It says 3 shimmer shades, 3 shimmer shadows. So it says shimmer shadows, but none of them are described as shimmer. And then it says an intense metallic, which is an emerald shade, which I didn't use. That's this one. I mean, yes, that does look a little metallic. Then it says 3 glittery shades, which was the pure gold, which is in the middle, which when I swatched that, yeah, I can see that. The khaki, which I used on the lid before I put the top coat on it, and then the pine green, which I've used as liner. Those are supposed to be the glitter ones. Yeah, something is off. I'm not sure what, but okay. I mean, it's really pretty. It's just not as described on the back of the box, just saying. It says apply with fingers or a brush, can be used alone or blended together. You can do all, it's because it's a Backstage, it's kind of used for the shows, so you can do a lot of things with it, mixing medias, etc. So I'm going to take the shade in here, which they're calling Jadestone. That was the one that has like kind of a little bit of a shift. It's really pretty deeper green because there isn't really like a pine green, but this is the closest. And this is a metallic, and it looks like a metallic. It's really pretty. Yeah, I gotta tell you, between the two of these, I like the Bobbi Brown. And the other thing I like about the Bobbi Brown is that there are different shades in here, so it makes it more versatile. Like if I was gonna travel, I feel like I could come up with a number of looks in here that could be very neutral, very everyday, very work friendly, but then I can also punch it up with the greens in here. So this might be like this and the ABH. I haven't picked up, I have the Nouveau, which I actually did not intend to love and absolutely surprised me, and I loved it so much. I use it all the time. I've been thinking about getting the Rose Metal one. I think it's called Rose Metal. Let me know if I should get that, because that one is like next on my list to possibly get. It does look really pretty to me. It looks a lot like the Nouveau. That's the kind of thing I'm like, okay, is it worth it? So this is the Bobbi Brown Jadestone. This is the Dior Khaki Neutral. I think the Dior is nice. I'm a little confused by the packaging details, but I think it looks very pretty. I like the Bobbi Brown shades more personally, but again, that's just preference on shades. When it comes to like how they feel, I'd say the Bobbi Brown feels a little bit nicer than the Backstage, to be honest. We'll see how they wear, you know, that's also the thing, but like how shades break down. Some will get into your crease, and like after a little while, they just all become crease looked. Others last all day, so that also is important. Let me put on a little bit of mascara just so we see how the look finishes up. Okay, we've got the Dior on this side, Bobbi Brown on this side, and I've got the Dior, and I've got the Tom Ford look that I'll have put up so you guys can see it. So let me close my eyes for a second, and then we'll have the Tom Ford look go up. So again, Bobbi Brown, Dior, and hopefully the Tom Ford I can have like come up over here or on the other side. I have to say, just, and I'm trying to be as non-biased as I possibly can be, the Tom Ford is my favorite. So if I had to get only one of these, I would still pick the Tom Ford. It is $90. You do only get 4 shades, something to keep in mind depending on what you want. Second, I think I would pick the Bobbi Brown. I bought it, I got it a little bit on sale. I think it was like 20% off. And I said, yeah, the price is $59. So it's $60 for 12 shades. So it's pretty good. And I think it is, I think you can get it on sale at a bunch of different places. So that's, you know, a positive. The Dior, I just looked up to see what the price was for the Dior, and the Dior is $49. So it's $49 for 9 or $59 for 12. So the prices are similar, I guess. I'd still pick the Bobbi Brown before I'd pick the Dior. One, I think the Bobbi Brown has more options because there's more shades, and there are, you know, lots of mattes and neutral, mattes and metallics, which I like. I like having a lot of good mattes in there. The Dior has the primer and the topper shade. So if you like having that in a palette, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, because that can be helpful. You know, if you're somebody who really wants a primer, you've got it built into the look, and you've got a topper shade. So that is nice. That is something to consider. That's kind of the pro there between the two. I'd say the pros with the Bobbi Brown, reasonable price point, lots of shades, there's 12 of them, equal mattes and metallics. They look really beautiful, smooth going on. The con is, of course, you don't have the primer or the top shade, like the glittery shade, but I would say their metallics are pretty shimmery. The Dior has the primer and the top shade, but there's still some confusion to me about what the shades are supposed to be because they're labeled either incorrectly or the shades that they put in the palette are incorrect, one or the other. So yeah, I would say the Bobbi Brown, then the Dior. Tom Ford is my first choice. Just, you know, I know it's more expensive. I know there's less shades. I'm still picking the Tom Ford. Really quickly, what I want to put on is I have the Guerlain Gel Gloss. Now, this is in rose gold. It comes in this pot. And I was not going to get this. I was not going to buy it. And one of my friends was talking about it and I was just like, fine. I'm gonna try it. So let's grab one of our Dior liners here. This is, what shade is this? This is a Saint Germain, and let's use the brush on the end of it. Yeah, it's like a shiny gloss. It's got little pigments in it, almost, you can see. I'll put them on the back of my hand so like in a little bit of a thicker look so you can see it. Yeah, I'd say rose gold. That's a good way to describe it. It's very pretty. I don't love the fact that it's in a pot, but I have retractable lip gloss, you know, lip brushes. So I would probably use that because this one I'm gonna now have to wash, but I didn't think about it before we started filming. But yeah, I mean, I don't love the little pot because I have to put my finger in it or a brush in it, but it does look nice. This is supposed to be used like anywhere. It's a gel gloss, so you could put it on your cheeks, you could put it on your eyes. I don't know if I would put this on my eyes because it's not tacky, it's smooth, but I don't know. I don't really put glosses on my eyes. That's just not really my thing. I will say I have picked up, or I have ordered Chanel Holiday, not all of it, but some of it. And there is that lacquer glossy duo thing for the eyes. So I will have that and I will review it for you. I don't know when it's gonna come though, guys. Technically, it's not being released at the Dior boutiques. It's either the 13th or the 18th. I'll get a date for you. But you know, Nordstrom is having it earlier and there's a couple of other places. So I don't know when I'll actually get it. I might not get it until the 15th. I just don't know. But I have ordered it. So I do have that duo gloss. Yeah, you know, it actually does look nice. It feels nice. It feels like a balm, but it is pretty. So hopefully that was helpful with the green. That's all the information that I could think of sharing with you between the three of them. If there's something else you want to know, just, you know, put it in the comments below. I'm happy to answer or try to answer any of your questions. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see you in another video really soon. Bye.